Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
Welcome to Minutes with the Mayor. Thanks to Mercantile Bank and, of course, Madam Mayor Linda Moore. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Let's start with the, I'll call it less fun, right?
Okay.
Okay, electrical aggregation. And people, I think, understand, especially if they follow city council talks and what the city is doing, they understand what that means. But can you give me just a quick definition of what aggregation means for our city?
Sure. Well, many years ago, the city decided to use aggregation as a means to save homeowners and renters money on their electric bill.
Okay.
And we're talking basically aggregating the supply. So by having an aggregation agreement, the city says everybody within the city who doesn't opt out will get their supply of energy from whatever company is part of the deal.
Okay.
At first, the rates were fabulous and people saved lots and lots of money. Then about 2 years ago, the electric market became so volatile that rates were changing every 2 to 3 months, so we were only signing very short-term contracts, which meant anybody who wanted to opt out had to opt out every time a new contract came, which was every 3 months.
Right.
Logistically, that was just very difficult to manage. Plus, the rates weren't as good as they once were.
Right.
So last fall, council had the conversation about should we stay in aggregation or not. And because it was the voters who decided they wanted aggregation, council decided the voters should determine if they want to continue with aggregation.
Sure.
So that's what was on the ballot in April. Well, voters voted overwhelmingly in favor of it, so we're going to keep aggregation, but we've been opted out now since January 1.
Okay.
And we're going to continue to stay opted out until we get better rates.
Gotcha.
Last night, Reg Ankrum from CIMAC was there to tell us that rates are starting to look better, and he watches those rates every day. About probably September, early October, that time frame is when we're going to get the best rates.
Okay.
So at that point, he's going to want to lock in a deal, and that will be for the electricity supply starting January 1, 2026.
Okay.
So that's when people will be back in unless they opt out. So there'll be a 2 to 3 month window where people can opt out should they choose.
Gotcha.
If the rate's good enough, everybody's going to save money. If it's not, then we just simply opt out or we don't sign a contract.
Now, in order to be a part of this like municipal aggregation, that you do have to have the automatic opt-in.
Correct.
It's not an option to say we have to let people, because part of that is bargaining power to get this better rate.
That's correct.
Okay. Because I think, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think a lot of the problem was, why do we have to opt out? We were never asked if we wanted to be opted in. But I think through voting.
Correct. It was on the
majority,
ballot.
yes.
So whether or not somebody voted, that's where they could have voiced their concern or their opinion.
Because overall, I mean, in theory, like we talked about, it should be a good deal for all of us if we can lock in that good rate.
Right, exactly.
But we have people like Reg who are watching that for us, which is
Correct.
good. And then I had some other questions, so hopefully we can bring on an electrical aggregate pro who can answer some of the questions, like are there other companies? Are we locked in with Constellation? What would be the better choice for homeowner X versus business Y? And right? So lots of questions, but I think the conversation is always on the table. And
Absolutely.
It's good to talk about.
Exactly. And one of the reasons we had Reg there last night was just simply to give an update.
Right.
And we'll have him back in a couple months again to give us another update. So we want to keep people informed and let everybody know what's trending and what direction we're going.
Right, and what they can do to have their voices heard and how they can vote and what can be done. Love it.
Exactly.
I think it's definitely a necessary conversation. So happy to hear that conversation taking place. Speaking of conversations, one of the other things talked about last night, communications and the importance of it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you think back over the last 8 to 10 years and any challenge that you encountered with the city, it almost always evolved around communications.
Right.
Or miscommunication or bad communications. And it's not just the city, it's any company.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, I think it's any organization of any size.
And that's where one of the things that I have said for the last 8 years is the city needs to do a better job of managing the messaging. We let too many other people control the messaging with only a part of the information instead of having all of the information.
Right.
So by having a communication strategist, one of the things she's going to do is take a look at what do we have and how do we communicate, what's good, what's working, and what isn't. The first big challenge for her will be the website.
Yeah.
And of course, we've had IT, and God bless Laura Oakman, our city clerk, who said, I'll jump in, I'll do what I can to help. And they have it pretty far along. So now Kristen can come in and take what they have done and just make it 10 times better and more user-friendly. Because if you go to the city website today and you need to find something, you might have to click 20 different directions because you don't know where to find anything. We want to make sure that it's more easily navigatable for just the average citizen. We also want to make sure the information is there and easy to find.
Right.
And that it reads like it should.
Sure.
You know, almost like our story, as if you're reading a book. So, you know, we're going to do a lot with the website. We're also going to do a lot more with social media. And again, our city clerk has managed our Facebook page for I don't know how long. Laura's done a fabulous job.
It's not easy.
But that's not her job.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a full-time job, really.
Yeah, you know, and that's not her expertise. But she's had fun with it, and she's enjoyed it, and she's done a great job.
Sure.
So now we'll be posting more often. We will be having information from all of the departments, not just one or two. But we will get the word out and try to communicate as much information as quickly as we can without going into brain overload.
Sure, yeah, and keeping it standardized. I mean, one of the things we were talking about, I think, again, it's a challenge in any organization to effectively communicate, but having the standards that kind of keep you inside of, hey, here's how you do it, here's the appropriate templates to use,
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And making sure the message is the same.
Exactly,
for sure.
from PowerPoint presentations to letterhead to business cards. You know, I often think about the fact that we probably have about 10 different types of letterhead coming out from different city departments. There's no consensus across the board. If a scammer wanted to come in and scam our citizens, they could easily create some version, and how would anybody know if it's really from the city or not?
And they will do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
We know we have a lot of bad actors out there. So if we can just make everything consistent, even down to things like fonts and colors, which I know I've always, everywhere I've worked before the city, we always had a style guide.
Yeah.
That said, you know, this is what you use. We even went so far as to have nomenclature for files.
Right.
Because then if you moved on and somebody else needed to find a file, everything was named the same.
Right.
So it was easy to find what you needed, where now it's, you know, everybody
Here,
just
there,
kind
and
of
everywhere.
digs and says, what do we have? Where
Good
can
luck.
I find it? Do you have anything?
Right.
You know, and sometimes we find that the department least likely to have anything is the only one who has anything.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it's always interesting when you're talking about, of course, branding or styling, and then communication. A lot of times people don't really associate that with, but it's all one standard message, and how you communicate and make sure that you're communicating efficiently, effectively. I think it's really important. And you mentioned moving on. So one of the things you talked about last night. So the communication strategist is who?
Kristen Neiman.
Okay. So in listening to her speak last night, she, I think, was the perfect choice. She has, very good communication skills. And it was brought up, you know, basically the length of her contract, because is she a contract employer? How does that,
She's an independent contractor, which means she's not an employee. She gets no employee benefits. She has to manage things like withholding tax and
Sure.
health benefits and pension, everything on her own. That's on her, not on the city. Social Security, everything she has to take care of.
And she mentioned, one of the questions was like, well, how long will she be here, in essence? And she said, basically, her hope is to come in and set everything up so that everyone can learn, use, and then carry it forward so that she's basically not necessary.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Which I think that's probably the best way to look at it, that you want to come in and facilitate and then move on, leaving all the tools behind so that everybody can continue to do it.
Exactly.
Whether they're here today or they come in 10 years from now.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I love it.
Well, and in fact, she's already teaching people certain things. We invited her to a meeting last week about a tool that we wanted to consider. And I had 3 or 4 department heads call me to say, I couldn't believe what she added to the conversation, things none of us would have ever thought about. And it was so good to have her there because it was a completely different perspective on how to communicate.
Right.
And that's exactly why we need her, is because every single one of us needs to learn how to communicate better.
Right.
I've added a few things like minutes with the mayor and some other media blitzes that I do. But we need everybody to be able to do that.
Sure.
We need directors who can not only communicate with the council, but communicate with constituents, communicate with the media. And it's not always easy.
Right.
So she can help us do that too.
And it's not for lack of trying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Everybody has worked so hard and tried. It's just not their specialty. So if we can have somebody come in a brief period of time, train everybody, I think it's only going to elevate our game and make the city that much stronger.
Absolutely. I think communication is one thing everybody needs to get better at. And again, it's you don't know what you don't know, so it's not for it's not for lack of trying or lack of give a damn, right? It's you just don't know the best way to do it. So bringing someone in, communication strategist, I think is genius. I think a lot of organizations could use one, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm glad that it's happening in our city. This is going to be great.
Well, and we have a lot of things to do. I can tell you that from sunup to sundown, I'm go. I'm learning so much. But the services that the city provides and the programs that we oversee are very broad.
Sure.
And I don't think a lot of our residents know how much is there. So if we can let more people know about them, then I think the education part of that can be really helpful as well. I know right before I took office, I had a special event, and so I had to go through the special event permit process.
Yeah.
And going through it, my thought was, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Who would ever want to do a special event in this community if it's this hard?
Right.
And I had an easy one. So now we're all talking about, okay, well, what could we change? What ordinances are out there that maybe have language from the 1800s or the early 1900s?
Yeah.
And we need to change that language to bring it up to 2025. And we don't necessarily need to do this piece anymore. Instead, this is what we need to keep our community safe and vibrant and moving forward.
Right.
So we're looking at those kinds of things as well so that we can update the code book to match what we really need and to make it easier and more efficient for our citizens to do special events.
Yeah, so accessibility and transparency, information,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's all amazing.
I think transparency is the other key to having this communications person.
Sorry, that's my kid. Keep going. Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, it happens,
Yeah.
family first.
Yes.
So, with transparency, there's some information we can't release until certain times.
Right.
So we have to be very careful and know, well, what can be released and what should be released and what do we have to hold confidential?
Right.
And when can we release that? So I would like to release as much information as quickly as possible across the board. And so as soon as we can, we will. For example, I know people are wanting to know about the Welcome Inn property.
Right.
And what's going on there. We know the property has been sold. The sale went through. We are awaiting the new owner to make some announcements, and they want to control the messaging
Sure.
for their property.
Right.
And so we're respecting that. but we want to know what's going on there. The same way with the 54th Street property. You know, what's going on there? We haven't heard anything for a while. Well, next week we are hoping to get an update from the owner that we can then take to council and say, here's where we're at and here's what we want to do with it.
Right.
You know, until everybody's on the same page, we can't really release anything.
Yeah.
You know,
which makes
so,
sense.
yeah.
I mean, you don't want multiple messages out there
That's
because
right.
then people start creating their own narrative,
Oh,
right?
exactly.
Yes.
You know,
and we have enough of that going on.
That's right. You know, I know I happened to be scrolling through social media the other day, and of course the messages were, oh, I wonder how many millions we're going to give this new owner of
Oh, boy.
the
Yeah.
no, zero.
Yeah.
They don't want any incentive, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Because that's in the TIF district, and so we can maybe use some TIF funds to spruce up the streetscape and, you know, the area around it to enhance their property and to enhance the customer experience.
Right.
When we enhance the customer experience,
Yeah.
customers come back.
Right. Everybody
So,
wins.
yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, the communication I think is outstanding. Aggregation is something that not everybody understands and not everybody should, right?
Right.
It's very intricate, the inner workings, I think, of how we're doing things for our community and making sure we're doing things right. Everything else that you spoke about, you know, throughout the city council, you're doing what is it called now? The agenda,
The consent agenda.
yeah.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
It's working.
I think it's working too.
It's working.
Yeah.
You know, we said we're going to ease into it really slowly.
Yeah.
We could have gone all in from week one, but
Right.
there was some discomfort
Some
about it.
trepidation a little bit,
So we
yeah.
thought, let's just ease into this. Right now, the consent agenda is our petitions and our appointments.
Okay.
Just our routine appointments.
Sure.
We will start adding in reports probably next month.
Okay.
And then we'll add in a few other routine things. By probably sometime in mid-August, early September, we will go all in.
Okay.
So any agenda item, like a resolution that has been referred through a committee and the committee says put it on the consent agenda, we'll put it on the consent agenda.
Okay.
If they say no, we want to discuss it, put it on the regular agenda at the full council meeting, we will do that.
Then it will be.
So
Okay.
that way the alderman gets some input as to what goes where
Right.
as well.
Which all plays back into the efficiency and communication
That's
thereof.
right.
So I
Exactly.
love it all. Keep up the
Exactly.
good work.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to talk about that I've missed today?
We did approve 3 fix or flatten homes
Okay.
last night, so we will proceed with those. We know there's a lot more on the list,
Yeah.
but one at a time. It's going to take us a while, but we're going to get there eventually.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. All headed in the right direction. So again, thank you for coming
Thank you.
on. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Of course, I love talking
And thanks
to you.
to Mercantile Bank.
Yes, thank you, Mercantile. Big fans, I hear, of Muddy River News and of Linda Moore. So thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for coming on. Keep up the good work. To you and the City Council, I know you don't get enough kudos, but
Oh, but
yeah, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
not
it.
in it for the kudos,
Right.
but thank you very much.
Of course, absolutely. All right. Again, thank you to Mercantile and thank you to Madam Linda Moore.
Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.